So just tell me when you all are ready.
Yeah, I believe we are ready. This is Kim Wheeler from Red Wolf Coalition, and she is going to share with us some reasons why we need to really take particular care of these animals. And I am learning about these animals for the first time too, so I'm excited.
Oh, cool. So our office is located in Columbia. Anybody been through Columbia on their way to the beach? Yeah. Everybody goes through Columbia, but our challenge is to get you to stop. So the Red Wolf Coalition is a nonprofit. We don't get any support from any state or federal funding. That means that we receive support from just people like you and me. What our mission is, we advocate for the long-term survival of red wolf populations through education and outreach. So what do all those words mean? What it basically means is that we teach about the red wolf. This has been a great summer of talking to the libraries in the Albemarle Peninsula, part of the Pettigrew system. Last week I did the one in Columbia. I'm doing you guys today. Next week I'm gonna do the Edenton Library. So I'm excited this year to be able to do some in person, do some Zoom, because as you all know, last year was a really difficult year. So here in Northeastern North Carolina, we are home to the only wild red wolf population in the world. There aren't a lot of places that can say that, but we can here. And the red wolves were first found or reintroduced into Beaufort, Dare, Hyde, Terrell, and Washington counties. So you guys didn't get any wolves, and I don't know that I can say none have ever been in your county, but there's probably a good chance that they have not. So currently today, the wild red wolf population is found at Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge, and there are, let me think, I got to do the math really quick. There are 13 wolves that live there, and Poquoson Lakes National Wildlife Refuge, and there are 5 wolves that live there, a mama and 4 puppies. So it's a very small population. I started with the coalition about 16 years ago, and there were 130. So the population has been in decline a bit over the years, probably since the start of about 2012. Some of that was due to gunshot mortalities. Some of them have been vehicular accidents. Some of them have been old age, disease, just some of the normal things that might plague a wild population of wolves. So what I really wanted to talk to you about is just to tell you, we do have wolves. They are an endangered species. I'm guessing everybody knows what an endangered species is. Raise your hand if you do. Oh, everybody does. Okay. So the red wolf as an endangered species is listed on the Endangered Species Act. And the responsible government agency that oversees the red wolf program is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Program. And so the U.S. Fish and Wildlife has a long list of animals on the endangered species list. I don't even know how many there are. I just know there's a lot. And I know that the red wolf is about middle of the pack. So they're somewhere right there in the middle, which means there are other programs that spend a whole lot more money, some that spend less. And the red wolf budget, the last time I checked, was about $1 million a year. So that seems like a tremendous amount of money, but it does take a lot of effort from the local red wolf recovery program. They have to have staff, they have to have cars, they have to have gas in those cars, and all the equipment that they need to help monitor this program. So we also have 43 zoos and nature centers across the US that have red wolves under their care. Has anybody here ever seen a red wolf at a zoo or nature center?
I have one young lady back here.
Cool in the back, cool. So here in North Carolina, we have the North Carolina Zoo. We have a facility in Asheville, North Carolina. We have the Museum of Life and Science in Durham. Those are probably the closest to us. The North Carolina NC State University also houses wolves, but they're not on exhibit. They're just for breeding purposes. Here in Columbia, we have the Red Wolf Education Center, and we actually have 2 wolves, which are these wolves, the picture behind me, that's Manny, he's 13, And this is Sage, and she's 7. And they're on exhibit. Right now, the Red Wolf Education Center is not open. It's run by the Fish and Wildlife. And due to COVID, they haven't opened it up yet. I'm hoping soon they'll be opening up. But I'm the caretaker for these 2 guys. And what my caretaking responsibilities mean that I do go in with them. They don't approach me. Wolves are very afraid of people. Manny has to get medicine every day. So I go in every day and I give him his medicine. I make a meatball out of either hamburger or ground turkey. I put his medicine in it and I go and lay it down and I walk away and he walks up and snatches it. It's sort of a little game that we play every day. And then I pick up, you know, if there's any holes dug or scat or limbs or anything. And I also make sure they have water and make sure that they get food. They get a dry kibble that's in a feeder. But then I also give them chicken and beef and turkey. They get some nice treats throughout the week so that they just don't have kibble to eat. And what we do at the Red Wolf Education Center is very similar to what a lot of zoos and nature centers do. Some of them feed them a more natural diet. So their diet in the wild, they eat white-tailed deer, rabbits, rodents, nutria. They're very opportunistic. That means if they're somewhere at the right time and can find something to eat, they will definitely try to get it. As you can imagine, probably the hardest thing that they try to catch is a white-tailed deer. Deer, you know, are very quick. They're very fast. If you've ever looked at the hooves of a deer, they're very sharp. You can imagine that it would be very dangerous for a wolf to get its head or jaw anywhere near those hooves. Because what would happen if they got kicked in the mouth? They might lose their teeth, they could break their jaw, and then how would they eat? They can't go to doctors like you and me and get it fixed. If you get kicked in the jaw and it doesn't heal, there's a really good chance that you won't survive. So life in the wild is really difficult. Life in captivity is pretty easy. Somebody brings you some food and everything is nice and wonderful, but it's really, really hard out in the wild. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about is about what does it mean to be a wolf? I think it's really important that when you begin to learn about wolves, you learn about them as a family. And wolves are a great, great family unit. Our families today look very different, but a wolf pack, which is what we call a group of wolves, remains the same. You have to have a mom and a dad, and that's how it all starts. Sometimes I get asked, how big is a wolf pack? It only has to be 2, and that would be the mom and the dad. So once a year, mom and dad have puppies. So what I'm gonna do right now is I have some pictures. I'm gonna get rid of my picture, and I'm just going to show you the pictures on my computer screen. So I'm going to be blank for a minute. So bear with me, and hopefully I will get this all to work properly. So I got to get rid of, can you all see my screen? Yes. Raise your hand if you can see my screen. Okay, cool. All right. So the first picture I want to show you, as soon as it loads. So this is a pile of puppies. Can you all see that? Just raise your hand if you can. Yeah. So this is a pile of red wolf puppies. They look very similar to what a puppy dogs look like. Wolves are born with their ears down, their eyes closed. The only thing they can really do when they're first born is smell. They can't control their body temperature. So that's why lots of times when you see red wolf puppy pictures or wolf puppy pictures, you will see them all piled on each other because they're trying to keep warm. So they use each other to keep warm, and then they also use mom to keep warm. I have to keep moving this around. There we go. So they are born. There we go. So when they're born, just like puppy dogs, they need mom. Mom nurses them. Now here's a mom. She had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 puppies. And so this is a female. Her name is Carrie, and she was born at the museum. I mean, she lived at the Museum of Life and Science. So imagine she had 6 puppies. That's a lot of puppies. So wolves stay with mom and dad until they're 2 years old. Can you imagine at 2 years old? Raise your hand if you think at 2 years old you would be able to go out into the world on your own and be able to take care of yourself. Yep, there we go. We got somebody who raised their hand. Well, that's what wolves do. From the minute a wolf is born, they are learning about how to be wild and how to survive. And they can do that from every one of their family members. So in the wild, wolves are born in a den. Oh, this is a picture of a puppy. Hold on, I don't want that. I want my den picture. Hold on. So a den in the wild can really be anything. It can be a tree that's fallen over. In this case, this looks like something in the side, maybe of a little hill. And so mom will dig a hole. Sometimes she digs it really deep. It's usually about just as big enough for her to get in and get through. Once those puppies are born, again, remember, they need mom to stay warm. And they also nurse, so they need mom for food. So mom will typically only come out of that den to get water, which most dens are near water, and to get food. And what's really cool about this, again, it goes back to wolves being really good family members, is usually the dad will bring her food, or if there are puppies that were born last year and are now a year old, and we call those yearlings, they might bring mom some food. So every pack member is taking care of mom. So that's really, really important after mom has had those puppies. They usually stay in the den about a good month. After a month, their eyes are open, their ears are up, and they're starting to be able to move around. So sometime mom moves the puppies around. So this is a picture of a mom moving a puppy. Now for those moms out in the audience, imagine if we had to move our babies around like this. It might be kind of difficult for us, but wolves are able to do it. Even though they have really sharp teeth, they sort of just use their soft mouth and are able to move puppies. So that's how she would move puppies. As you can see in this picture, if you notice, the ears are still down and the eyes are closed. So for whatever reason, she was moving these puppies around even before they were able to get up and move around on their own. So once a puppy is a little bit older, we'll say about maybe 4 or 5 weeks. So this is a red wolf puppy. Aren't they cute? Puppies are born with blue eyes. And you can see in this picture, this puppy has definitely put on some weight and grown, looks more like a wolf. So when they're first born, they do look a lot like a dog puppy. They sort of have a round face. But here you can see the puppy, its nose has started to elongate, and then look at the ears. The one thing I love about red wolves is they have the biggest ears, but when they are a puppy and they get to a certain stage, look at this, look at those ears. That's so cool to me. I think they're so cute when they're this age. So this puppy here probably is about 7 to 8 weeks old. So in this case, this was at the Museum of Life and Science, and this was a big culvert that they use as a den. And so the puppies were coming in and out of the den. And in this case, this was a picture that I happened to take because I do love it when they have those big ears. They have to grow into their ears. And so you can see this puppy's eyes are still blue, but not as blue as the previous picture that I showed you. So some characteristics of a red wolf are that they have very long legs, big ears, and they have big ears because red wolves live here in North Carolina and it is hot here in the summertime. So those big ears help to get rid of the heat, and they have sort of slender bodies. Have any of you ever seen a gray wolf, either in a movie or in person? So gray wolves are much bigger. A red wolf is anywhere between 50 and 80 pounds, with the males being bigger than the females. With a gray wolf, they can be anywhere between 80 and 120 pounds, but their bodies look very different. Most of them, their legs are shorter, they have bigger bodies and smaller ears because most of them live in colder climates. So you definitely don't want to be getting rid of heat if you live in a cold climate. So just like us, all red wolves look very different. And so this is a picture of a red wolf. Looks like here on its arm, it must have had something done to it, some sort of medical procedure because it looks like it's shaved. So the animals in captivity, They get an annual physical every year, and I'm not sure if that's what happened with this guy here or it had some other issue. So as you can see in this picture, the wolf's eyes are kind of an amber color, and it's grown into its ears a little bit more. The red that we usually find on a red wolf is on its nose, behind its ears, and on its legs. This guy's a little bit dirty, which I would expect it to be living outside. But that's one picture. And then I want to show you another picture just so you can see how sometimes the animals will look very, very different. Where is my other picture? We'll go here. So you can see this guy or girl looks a little bit different. Its head is a little bit broader. It looks like the fur around its head, and its eyes is a little bit darker. And sometimes when that fur is dark around its eyes, it makes their eyes really stand out. The fur on their back on this person here, or this wolf here, is dark. And again, they can all be colored very, very differently. Usually a red wolf has that cinnamon color. Again, you can see on the ears the red. See that red there? You can see it on their legs. You can see it a little bit here. It's not really red. It's like a cinnamon color. So it's cinnamon and tan and black and maybe a light color. I don't know whether we want to call that cream or tan. And again, they're all colored very differently. But again, that characteristic of long legs and big ears. So I mentioned that wolves will stay together with mom and dad for about 2 years. So this is a picture of two brothers. So they look pretty fierce, don't they? It looks like the brother on the left is not happy with the brother on the right. So sometimes wolves will play, but even when they play, they are using the skills that they would need in the wild to survive. And so one way that they survive is certainly by hunting. They survive by communicating with each other. So within a pack, you've got mom and dad, and then maybe some yearlings, and then maybe some puppies. And so the older animals will probably go off and hunt. And again, they'll bring mom some food. And when the puppies are old enough to eat food, that's what they'll eat. And so again, the whole pack takes care of each other. But one of the things I love most about red wolves is just wolves in general is how they communicate. So I know that you guys there in the audience have probably never gotten yelled at by your parents, probably never, because you all look like you are just absolutely perfect children, and that's wonderful. But in a wolf pack, those little puppies sometimes get into trouble. Sometimes pack members get irritated with each other. Sometimes siblings get irritated with each other. But they don't have a voice like you and me. So there are a number of ways that wolves communicate with each other. And this is one of the things that I love most about the wolf, is the way they communicate. So when we look at this picture right here, it looks like that male on my left that has his mouth open, and look at those teeth. Those teeth are very important to a wolf. Those are the teeth. You can see the long canines here. And that's when they're hunting, that's what they're able to grab onto their prey with, especially if it's an animal of any size. And then their teeth here in the back, they have incredible jaw strength. And those teeth in the back, that's what they're able to just grind and chew with, because when they are eating something, especially most everything they have, that is their prey has bones. They eat everything. They eat the fur, they eat the meat, they eat the skin. And so they need that strong jaw to be able to do that. So back to these two guys. So the one on the left with his mouth open looks like he's not too happy with the one on the right. So they could be playing right here. And what the guy on the left could be saying is, I'm not really happy with you. And the only way I know to tell you is to open my mouth really wide. And I'm sure there was a growl associated with that. So sometimes wolves will growl at each other, just like a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or uncle might yell at a kid. That's what wolves do. Again, they don't have a voice, but they can growl. Sometimes they'll just do what is called a lip curl. And the one on the left is sort of doing that. His lip is above his teeth. And sometimes that's all they'll do. Sometimes you'll see, if you notice on the one on the left where the mouth is wide open, his tail is curled all the way down underneath. Where if I look at this one over here on the right, his tail is up high. So that tail position also lets you know how confident that wolf is feeling. So the higher the tail, the more confident the animal. So do you think the one on the right feels a little more confident than the one on the left? Yes, absolutely, because we're seeing that tail posture. You can look here on this animal on the right, his fur is raised a little bit, his hackles are up. Granted, his mouth is up too. So wolves also communicate by howling. We're not 100% certain why they howl. We think that sometimes they howl maybe to bring their pack members together. A lone animal might howl because it's looking for a mate. They might howl to let maybe other wolves know, hey, you're in my territory, get out. They might also howl because we have coyotes here, and they might be letting the coyote know, hey, you need to get out because this is my territory. Because if you don't get out, then maybe we're going to have a little bit of a fight. So there's a lot of really cool ways that a wolf can communicate. I wanted to show you this picture too. So look at this wolf here. Look how much darker he is around his face. And so his eyes look very intense. He also has some dark hair here on his leg. Am I okay so far? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
We're good? Okay. I didn't know how much time I had. So,
Much as you want.
okay. Well, you don't want that. We'll be here tomorrow.
We're also recording for people who may not get a chance to join us today, so they can take a look at the recording. So.
Okay. All right. So again, what I really wanted to talk to you about today was just what it means to be a wolf. There's a lot of different opinions about whether people like wolves or not. It's something that resonates a lot of emotion with people. And it's not my job to make you like wolves. What my job is to tell you about wolves. I obviously like wolves and think that they're incredibly important, and that they are very worthy of protection, and that we hope that our government will continue to fund the endangered species list and all the animals that are on there, and especially the red wolf, because again, this is the only wild population in the world, and there are just not many times that you can say that. So the fact that we can say that here in North Carolina, I think is pretty cool. You know, certainly wolves can be scary. There have been a lot of movies, a lot of books about wolves, and they generally don't portray them as the type of animals they are. They're usually get them, they're snarling or going to attack. Here in North Carolina, these wolves have been on the ground for 35 years. We have never had a red wolf attack. As I mentioned before, wolves are typically very afraid of people. I live here in Terrell County, which is one of the counties. I go over to Alligator River and lots of times try to see if I can find any of those animals there that live in the wild. And so I encourage you, if you're headed to the Outer Banks and have some time, you know, take a little bit of time and ride through Alligator River. The wolves that are on the ground here actually wear a tracking collar. And the tracking collar is put on them so that the Fish and Wildlife can keep up with their movements. Well, the collars that the red wolves wear are bright orange. So if you go to Alligator River and you see a canine with an orange collar, then you've seen a red wolf. And so that's definitely one really way to be able to identify them. And I have to say, there have been a lot of people that go to Alligator River and are keeping up with them and looking at them and are able to spot them. So in the mornings and the evenings are the best time. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I go a lot, but have yet to see one in the wild. I guess I just have to be satisfied with the two that I have here, and with Manny and Sage. So a lot of people ask about the conservation and what they can do to help. And I always tell people learning about wolves is really important. Let me stop sharing this because I'm done with my picture. So can you all see me now? No, I think I have to start my, hold on. All right, I think I'm back. All right, I'm back. So a lot of people ask what they can do. And I get that question from people of all ages. We have young kids that have done fundraisers, or I had one little girl that was working on a badge with Girl Scouts, and she developed a coloring book for kids. And her mom had them printed and sent them to me, and I give them out to kids as they come into the office. Just learning about something is really, really important. To me, it's not so important that you, every one of you in the room, learn about wolves. But if you have something you're passionate about, even at a very young age, is for young kids, you know, certainly look to your parents to show you those good sites and learn as much as you can. And if you read something that seems different, something you've never read before, keep checking it out, because sometimes there's a lot of misinformation out there. I know with wolves, there is so much misinformation out there that it's really important that you go to some reputable sites. So our website, which is redwolves.com, has some great information on it. Our Facebook page has some great pictures. This time of year, a lot of the zoos and nature centers are having puppies. And so when they do that press, we try to put it on our Facebook page. It is appropriate for kids. That is one thing. My board chair monitors that page and does the post. And so we always want to be sure that it's appropriate for kids so that they can get on there and also do some learning. And so we're excited about our social media. And again, it's another avenue for us to be able to get out there and do some great education and research. So do you guys have any questions? I mean, it's a lot. Learning about wolves, I've been doing it for 16 years now. And I think every month I learn something new. But I really wanted to just start with the basics here today and tell you just a little bit about the wild population, about the captive population, and more importantly, what it means to be a wolf, and that they are such a good family unit. Mom and dad stay together. They mate for life unless something happens to one of them, which is pretty cool. And again, as long as they're able, they have puppies once a year. And at 2 years old, then the 2-year-olds leave, and hopefully there'll be new ones to replace them. So they're pretty cool. Do you guys have any questions for me? Yeah? No?
What?
Yep.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Did you say they were endangered?
Yes.
Well, I could not hear the question.
You said they were endangered.
I can't hear you. You have to come closer. Or somebody repeat it.
That's okay.
I said you said they were endangered, but if they have sex,
Still can't hear you.
Go ahead and ask me also.
you said they're endangered. Do they have any like different species or
If somebody could repeat the question.
Yes,
I heard, I said they were endangered.
Oh, what are their predators? What kind of predators do they have?
So the biggest predator to a wolf is man, is humans. Sometimes as a pup, when mama's in the den, certainly not to say that a coyote couldn't come and try to do something to those puppies. I think on occasion I've heard the field staff talk about maybe a bear, but it's very rare. But man is the biggest predator that the wolf has. And that's any kind of wolf, whether it's a gray wolf or a red wolf.
makes sense though? Go off in the woods when you're like 2 or 3, and you can't imagine something bad wouldn't happen. That's just very dangerous. Sorry.
That was a good question.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. You have to be really loud.
Does wolves live in wild close to the creeks?
Could somebody repeat that question for me?
Oh, would you like to come up closer?
Yeah, just come closer so I can hear you. I don't bite.
Does wolves live in wild close to creeks?
Do they live close to creeks?
Well, they do, because they're always looking for water, especially mamas that have had puppies that are living in those dens. They always want to be near water because, you know, wolves can't bring each other water. They don't have buckets and all that kind of bottles like we have. So, yep, absolutely. They live near water. All the animals, all the things on earth need water, don't they? Absolutely. Do you guys want to howl for me?
Oh!
There you go.
Very good.
That's good. That's very good. No other questions?
What's the average lifespan of a red wolf?
So the average lifespan in the wild is about 5 years. In captivity, I think the oldest wolf we had, her name was Betty. I had her here in Colombia for a while. She was 17 years old. So that just shows you that life in the wild is very hard. Life in captivity is fairly easy. Somebody's bringing your food. You don't have to catch it. In captivity, if they get sick, we take them to the vet. So it's a very different life.
I think you said it before, but is your place open for visitors or just not right now due to COVID?
So it is not. As soon as the Fish and Wildlife, they run the Red Wolf Education Center. So I have not heard when they're going to open up. I don't think the Fish and Wildlife across the board has opened up all of their visitor centers like that. But you can always check back with me, and I'm happy to let you know.
When you do open, can you see your 2 wolves there?
So they will be in the enclosure. I cannot guarantee that they will be easy to see. So just like when you all go home, you might go in your room, or you might be in the kitchen or the den or the living room. You would not want me to come in your house and make you get up. And so Manny and Sage have not been on exhibit now for almost 2 years. So they're not used to people. And I remember I mentioned they're very fearful of people. So there's a big rock den. I suspect they're gonna hide behind that. But the Fish and Wildlife has tried to set up the exhibit so that if you stand in this one particular corner, you can at least see them, and they're gonna look at you and maybe move around, but they're not gonna come up to the fence or anything like that. But I think it's still worth seeing them. They are beautiful. I'm a little biased because I take care of them. And Sage is, if I were a wild wolf, I'd want to be part of her pack. She's all about food. You're going to eat. She has a lot of energy. She's always in movement. And she's the youngest wolf I've ever cared for. I typically at the education center get the retired, what I call about 10 years and up. And I like those. I like taking care of wolves there at the end of their life and kind of spoiling them. And Manny, on the other hand, is my old guy, but he's moving around pretty good. He's usually the first one to food. And again, he gets medicine every day. So we have this little game that maybe I'm just playing it and he doesn't know, or he's playing a game with me and I don't know. Again, I don't think I'm part of their pack. I don't think they see me that way. They definitely are familiar with me, but still do not approach me. They still are fearful. Like when I go in to pick up, like I have to pick up their scat, which is their poop. She just circles and runs and runs. Manny just sort of moves from corner to corner depending on how I'm going. But they really are beautiful animals. Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're a lot of fun to watch. Definitely a lot of fun to watch. So I have some great funny stories to tell on them. So one day I went in to feed and I was trying to get some medicine to her. So their food is not usually in a bowl, like a dog bowl, but I was trying something new and trying to distract him with some food and her. And so I put the bowls down. Everybody got their food, got their medicine. And the next day I got there and her bowl was on top of one of the den boxes. Not really sure what she was telling me, like, please fill this. I don't know why she did it, but it's just funny to me that she did it. So she's a funny girl. She just does some wolf things, but I just find it amusing.
Have you guys have puppies with them, or do they choose their own mates? Or?
They did not mate, so both of them are intact. He's at 13, a little outside of that range. Both of them came from the captive population at the North Carolina Zoo 2.5 years ago to Colombia. He had never produced at all, so I'm not sure if there's a problem there. She had never, but I cannot remember if she was ever paired with somebody. So I have a feeling when Manny passes, that they will probably send me a younger male, and then her chances of maybe having puppies would increase, which I would be out of my mind with the cuteness that will happen. I just can't even like imagine how I'll handle that, because you have to be hands off. You can't touch them. And yeah, my camera will get a lot of work. I mean, puppy, yeah, I would want to touch them. I mean, it'll take everything I can do not to. So the field staff with the Fish and Wildlife, if at some point in time down the road, Sage does have puppies with another male, they will come into the enclosure because this is their job. So this is what they do with the wild puppies that they're able to find, and also in the captive population. So she'll probably have them in either one of the den boxes, or maybe she'll dig a hole. But the guys will come in, and she'll move away, and they will get the puppies out, and they take blood because they want to make sure that they have blood work and genetics on them. They get an identification chip in their neck, and then they'll write down their stud book number. Every red wolf gets a stud book number, and that's how they reference them. Like the field staff gets mad at me when I talk about Manny and Sage. Well, his number is 1171 and she's 12 something. I never use their stud book numbers, but sometimes they'll come back at me and like, we don't know who Manny and Sage is. What are their numbers? And they just do that because they remind me that that's how I really should refer to them. But to me, they're Manny and Sage. So on those puppies, they take blood, they put an identification chip, they get a stud book number, and then they write down if it's a male or a female. And then they'll put those puppies back in the den, and then just let mom do their thing. So in the wild, those animals, those mamas, most of the females wear a tracking collar because during denning season, that's how they're able to find them. And so every tracking collar, and if you guys will let me get up for a second, I'm gonna go get a tracking collar.
She really likes this.
Yeah, yeah.
So this might be really hard to see. Can you all see this? So it looks like a collar, and then there's a battery right here. And every tracking collar has a different frequency. Just like on your car, your radio stations, every channel is a different frequency. Every tracking collar has a different frequency, and it's assigned to a wolf. So the field staff, they try to fly in an airplane that has aerial telemetry, and they have a receiver, and they will dial in all the frequencies. And what they're doing is trying to find out where that animal is. So during denning season, they actually try to fly a little more than twice a week. And so what they're trying to do is find out where those moms are. And what they will usually find is puppies are usually born the end of April, beginning of May. And if they find that that mama has not moved, say in a 2-week period, then there's a good chance that she's in a den. So they will use their fancy schmancy math and try to figure out where she is. They also use a handheld antenna and find her. And in the wild, again, they do the same thing that they do in captivity. They try to find that den. Mom usually bolts out of the den, and the guys will go in very quickly and try to count the puppies and take blood and put the chips in and give them a stud book number, put them back and get out. They've been doing this for years and years and years. So they're really good and they're really quick. And then mom comes back. Lots of times she'll move those puppies just because humans have been there. But these tracking collars are really important. Number one, they can figure out where the animals are moving from week to week. And then they have all that information, and they can look at where animals are moving and then sort of figure out where their territory, like where their neighborhoods are. And that's really important information to be able to keep up. They have had wolves that have left that 5-county recovery area. There was a wolf that was killed in Franklin County, which is just a little north of Raleigh. The gentleman thought that it was a coyote. He had no reason to think that it was a wolf. He shot it, and then he got up to it and he saw that it had a tracking collar. And this was before they were orange. This is not one of the new ones. This is one of the old ones. And so he called Fish and Wildlife. And as you can imagine, if you shoot an endangered species, it is against the law. But he was not prosecuted. Obviously, he would not have known anything. So wolves can travel great distance. So from here to Franklin County is a good 2.5 hours. So as you can see, they move great distances. We got a question coming?
No,
No? Okay.
thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate
Oh,
it.
you're welcome. You're welcome. If you guys have any questions, my email is just kwheeler@redwolves.com. And again, our website is redwolves.com. There's some great information. One thing before I go, let me just mention, we have a teacher's curriculum that's online, and you can also request a hard copy from me. It's a curriculum that was developed by the Fish and Wildlife and also my board chair, who's a retired school teacher. And so it's for all academics. Where you can use the wolf in the classroom, and K through 12. So I try to once a year put together a teacher workshop. Haven't been able to do that, obviously, because of COVID. So I'm hoping by the fall, things have settled down enough and that maybe we all feel more comfortable coming together. And what I try to do is teach teachers how to use that curriculum. But again, there's an online version. So if any of you are educators or homeschoolers, or if you know of anybody that's interested, point them out. If they have any questions, they can always contact me, and I can give them some suggestions on what are some fun activities to do using the wolf in all academic. So didn't want to get away without mentioning that.
Thank you.
So thank you guys very, very much. And maybe one day I can do this in person. I have some great show and tell stuff, and maybe we can do some other hands-on fun stuff.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Have a great afternoon.
You too. It was. Thank you for coming. That was awesome. I learned a whole bunch of new stuff. Did you learn anything? Yeah, you asked a lot of great questions. Those were great questions.
I think were we at the zoo? Where were we one time and they had it was a red wolf exhibit and they were having a it was,
This is really
they
cool.
were, I must have been at the zoo because they had a couple there and they were just kind of sharing just like that.
Oh, that's really awesome.
Really neat.
I would love for her to come and in person next time. That'd be fun. Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry.